let us talk about the exchange of gases. So in here, what do you see in here? You see there's an alveoli, and there you see the blood capillaries. And what else do you see here? You could see the exchange of gases. Yes, the gases oxygen and carbon dioxide. So oxygen from the alveoli taken in. So from the alveoli towards the blood capillary, whereas carbon dioxide from the blood towards the alveoli to get expelled. So Ledwig at first described exchange of gases in blood. Exchange of gases occurs in the lung and the body tissues. We can see different parts over here. You can see the blood capillaries over here. This is what you see is the alveoli, and you could very well see there's a red blood cells, and this is the oxygen diffusion into the blood. This is the carbon dioxide diffusion from the blood. Exchange of gases in the lungs is also called as pulmonary gas exchange, students. And herein you can actually see, this is a diagrammatic image wherein you can see the gas and the basement substances, the red blood cells, the blood capillary, and the alveolar wall. And can you see how thin the alveolar walls are? And the thin alveolar walls only facilitate a proper and easy diffusion of gases through it into the blood. In the lungs, exchange of gases takes place between the air in the alveoli and the blood in the capillaries around the alveoli. In this exchange of gases, blood takes up oxygen from the alveolar air and releases carbon dioxide to the alveolar air. So here you can see the oxygenated blood flowing from the lungs to the heart and then to the rest of the body over here. And this is the deoxygenated blood from the body flowing to the lungs via the heart to get oxygenated. The partial pressure of the oxygen of the alveolar air is 104 mm per mercury, and the partial pressure of the oxygen of the blood in alveolar capillary is 40 mm per mercury. So due to the partial pressure of the oxygen difference of 64 mm between the air and the blood, oxygen diffuses very rapidly from the alveolar air into the blood of the alveolar capillary, raising the partial pressure of the oxygen of the blood to about 95 to 104 mm per mercury. So in here, what do you see, students? Let's observe what exactly we are trying to depict in this picture. So here you see the airflow in and out. You see the alveolar duct connected to the bronchioles here. This is the alveolar epithelia, the capillary walls that you see, the alveolar air space that you see, in the red blood cells that you see. This is the blood flow, the pulmonary surfactant. The partial pressure of carbon dioxide of the venous blood entering the pulmonary capillary is 46 mm, while that of the alveolar air is 40 mm. The oxygenated blood is sent from the pulmonary blood capillary to the heart. The heart distributes this oxygenated blood to various body parts and tissues using arteries. The arteries, they are divided to form arterioles, and they further get divided into minute vessels that are capillaries, which can reach even tiny cells. In tissues, exchange of gases occurs between the blood and the tissue cells, and the exchange occurs through the tissue fluid that surrounds the tissue cell. As you can see in here, the tissue cell. Now students, the blood reaching the tissue capillary has the partial pressure of the oxygen of 95 to 104 mm and a partial pressure of the carbon dioxide of 40, and the tissue cell has a lower partial pressure of oxygen and higher partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Now due to the partial pressure of the oxygen and the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide between the blood and the tissue cells, oxygen separates from the oxyhemoglobin and diffuses from the blood into the tissue fluid, into the tissue cells finally. Now the carbon dioxide, it diffuses from the tissue cells into the tissue fluid and finally into the blood that's present in the tissue capillaries. As a result of this, the blood becomes deoxygenated. And now the deoxygenated blood returns to the right side of the heart that sends it to the lungs for reoxygenation. In inspired air, oxygen is 19.6%, whereas in expired air, oxygen is 15.7%, and hence nearly 4% of the oxygen comes in from the air to the blood. Similarly, in inspired air, carbon dioxide is like 0.04%, and in expired air, carbon dioxide is 3.6%, and hence nearly 3.56% carbon dioxide comes out from blood into the air. So here you can clearly see the partial pressure of the oxygen and carbon dioxide in the alveolar air, in the pulmonary arterial blood, and in the pulmonary venous blood. Now we shall be talking about the transport of the gases in the blood. How do the transport of gases in the blood actually takes place? So blood carries oxygen from lungs to the heart and from the heart to various cells and tissues. Now the blood also brings carbon dioxide from the cells and tissues to the heart, from heart to lungs for expiration. You can very clearly see the pulmonary artery, the pulmonary vein, and you can see the carbon dioxide on one side and oxygen on one side. This is the systemic vein, the systemic artery, carrying deoxygenated blood, carrying oxygenated blood, and you can also see the partial pressure of oxygen and carbon dioxide respectively in this image. And you can compare